Is now in session. Would you please put your phones on silent ring? And Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Liner?
Here.
Commissioner McCabe?
Here.
Commissioner Sampson?
Here.
Commissioner Tyson?
Here.
Vice Chairman Dacey?
Here.
Chairman Martin?
Here. Let's stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we stand before you to take on the business of the people of Craven County tonight. We ask that you watch over this meeting and give us your blessings and approval of the decisions that we make. We ask that you keep the people of Craven County strong in the months and years to come as we rebuild after the worst catastrophe in Craven County history. We ask these things in Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. We've all had an opportunity to look over the agenda. Are there any corrections or changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Sir, I'd like if the board would entertain that we dispense of item number 7 tonight, the commissioner's report, so we can, some of us have to be out early in the morning. We could just do away with that.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Nays? The ayes have it. Next is the Petition of Citizens.
Mr. Chairman, it appears as though that we've got 3 people that have signed up for this evening. Mr. or Miss Clark? Forgive me, I don't have a...
Johnny Clark.
Johnny, forgive me, sir, I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Ah, yes, it does say
I
Johnny.
don't write very good now.
Well, you write better than I read.
Good evening, gentlemen and folks that are here tonight. I appreciate the opportunity of being able to come and speak before this board tonight. I'll try not to take up very much time, but I'll probably use my whole full 4 minutes, if that's what it is, right?
Could we have your address, sir?
5560 Highway 55 West, Cove City, North Carolina, 28523. Yesterday, while I was in church, I read some scripture that I thought would be very appropriate to mention here tonight. We live in a society that has gone deaf to God and to the Word of God. In Hosea chapter 6 and verse 4, it speaks about the fact that God speaking, Hosea speaking unto the nation of Israel, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Then in Amos chapter 8 and verse 11, it speaks about that famine is in the land. And the famine that he was speaking about was hearing the Word of God. And I have a place tonight I'd like to read out of the Bible. I would have loved to have taken time to read it all, but I couldn't. In 2 Timothy chapter 3, and starting with verse 1, it says, "This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God." And the last verse, verse 5, says, "Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof." We live in that society today. Now, some people don't believe in the second coming of Christ, and that's entirely up to them. There will come a day when Jesus will come. These days point us to that. And all of these things that I just read in verses 1 through 5 pertain to this society that we live in today. We have preachers that will stand in the pulpit today and say it's okay to be a homosexual or a lesbian. And in those same scriptures that's found in Romans chapter 1, where it speaks about those two types of people, it also speaks about bestiality. A lot of people don't want to mention that. And all 3 of them found in the same scriptures together. Bestiality is a man laying with a beast or a woman laying with a beast. Nobody wants to think about but they're all abomination unto God. But yet, where's our nation today? Saying it's okay to live with another man, to live with another woman and a man. That's an abomination unto the Lord. Then we have a Supreme Court that has ruled that it's okay for people to kill babies. That's an abomination unto the Lord too. Oh, we changed the vocabulary of, we don't want to call it a baby no longer. We want to call it a fetus, or we want to call it a thing, but it's still a baby that has a soul that'll live forever. This nation will stand in judgment for 50+ million babies that have been aborted that said it's okay. And we, folks, we just sit around and say it's okay. Then we have the liberals, the leftists, the extremists. All of those go along with the above. Where's our nation gotten to? Man, during the Revolutionary War, we believed in God. Our forefathers did. World War I, we believed in God. We prayed, God, get us out of this catastrophe. Let us do away with all these folks that want to take over the world. World War II did the same thing. God delivered us, but yet it doesn't take us long to forget about God and His Word. The Bible teaches us tonight that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Matthew 4:4.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ray Griffin.
Amen. God bless you. Ray Griffin, Vanceboro, North Carolina, 1981 Street Fair Road. Brother, bless you for your prayer, and you said something we need today, that we need to let God make our decisions. The election in November is not based between Republicans and Democrats, but a battle between good and evil. The Bible the Democrats swore on was wholly inspired, written by men of wisdom, and should be used to further this country. The Democrats have betrayed our founding fathers. They have betrayed our God. They are leading our nation away from God. They are not the party that they once were. Democrats now are far less likely to believe in God as described in the Bible. Democrats may boo God at the Democratic National Convention, but they breathlessly cite Scripture out of context when it suits their political purpose. The Democrat Party has turned this country into a moral sewer. They have gone so far to the left that they have no values or morality. Did not Sodom and Gomorrah and the people of Noah's time receive their death notice for their immoral acts? Is the Democrat Party any better? God has a great case against the Democratic Party. The Democrat Party is a false paradise. How can a Democrat be a Christian when they support everything the Bible is against? To vote Democrat makes you complacent with the Democratic Party. It simply says, I comply with their standards and their ethics and their values on abortions and same-sex marriage. In the book of Isaiah, it says, the show of their countenance does witness against them, and they declare their sins as Sodom, and they hide it not. And we see that they bring it right out into open. Woe unto their soul, for they have rewarded evil unto themselves. The Democratic Party throws it right out there. And I'm going to ask you this question. Would Jesus vote to support this evil anti-God agenda? And we know the question. One must wonder, how can anyone support and vote Democratic and call themselves a Christian? This is the gospel truth, and many hate the truth. But if anyone here today can find any discrepancy in what I have said and can show me any difference, I'll be willing to sit down and talk with them and admit that I'm wrong. If they can find any discrepancy in what I've said. But we see what is happening. The Democratic Party applauds everything that is what the Bible stands for, booed God, and said everything's going to be okay. There's going to be a day of reckoning, as the guy just said. We will all stand in front of an almighty God. But I still say, how can you call yourself a Christian and vote for those ethics and that morality? The day will come when you will stand in front of God and you will look at him and he will have hair as white as snow, that he will be the judge. He will have eyes that will pierce your very heart. And he will know what you were thinking and saying. And like the brother just said, he'll have brazen shoes on that will pronounce judgment upon this nation. And he's coming back in all his glory. When you vote tomorrow, vote truth, vote morality, vote, as the man said, decisions that God would make. Amen? God bless you.
Thank you.
Tyker Gonzalez.
Good evening, Tyker Gonzalez, 125 Turkey Quarter Creek Road, Cove City, 28523. Hurricane Florence, as you all know, was a disaster for Craven County beyond measure. I sincerely thank all of you for the hard work you've done to help those in this time of tremendous need. I wanted to let you know tonight what hundreds in our county have been doing concerning the animals that were left behind due to Florence. It began for us the day Florence hit with the animals that were found left chained and tethered. We needed to get them to safety and did so by taking them to the Humane Society shelter, which was empty a week before the storm. They had found foster homes for every one of their 128 animals. Lisa Lee attempted to help the county facility do the same, but was not allowed access into the facility. Please keep in mind our county facility was closed and did not accept any animals before, during, or after the storm. As the storm came in, Lisa Lee began receiving calls from the City of New Bern Police Department. They were pulling people out of floodwaters downtown with their pets, and there was nowhere for the pets to go. Lisa began taking in the animals at the Humane Society. As the rains continued, we found a better protected facility. Dr. Don Campbell allowed us to use his empty vet clinic. Volunteers came from everywhere, and we began to clean and set up in the pouring rain with no electricity. We were in the building with the animals in 24 hours with a line of rescued animals awaiting us with rescuers out the front door. As water continued to rise, we began getting calls of animals left behind in peril. Mike and Michelle Hearn began doing boat rescue. Some saved horses through 10 feet of water while the National Guard helped them find the best ways out. The Cajun Navy was also incredible, saving people and their pets in rising waters in pitch-dark nights. The SPCA of Virginia showed up the following Sunday to help with unwanted animal rehoming, but at that time we had no idea which animals had owners and which ones didn't, so the Humane Society ended up directing them to the county facility dogs, which desperately needed homes. There was no cats in the county facility. Later at our storm shelter, the air conditioning systems went down, so we moved all the animals' food, litter, and clean laundry along with medications to the county facility for 3 days after cleaning it thoroughly. That ended up involving help from this board, a state representative, and our governor. With the 4 relocations, keeping up with laundry, hauling trash, bringing much-needed supplies, and helping with the feeding, cleaning, and care of every animal, I have to say our volunteers have gone above and beyond incredible. Veterinarians volunteered with us from remote area medical from Tennessee. UNC sent us vet techs. Other vets stepped in to help us too. Last weekend, we took 60 animals to Greenville and had them all spayed or neutered, again with the help of volunteers transporting. Every animal has had vaccinations at our storm shelter now. As our costs have exceeded well over $20,000, we are also grateful for monetary donations. Centene Insurance Company has been a literal godsend, helping with emergency surgery costs and badly needed veterinary medications. So many animals came to us sick. Almost all were unvaccinated, and others had serious physical damage needing immediate surgical care. The Humane Society Storm Shelter ended up taking in animals from 4 counties, Pamlico, Jones, Carteret, and Craven. Out of 400-plus animals that came through our doors, we are now left with over 130 cats and kittens and 38 dogs that will need to be adopted. Out of the 400 animal intakes, only 25 animals had owners reclaim them from the Humane Society Storm Shelter. This entire ordeal shows us the tremendous problem of irresponsible pet ownership. Our work isn't done until they are all in responsible homes. We would love for all of you to come join us on the 17th of this month for our first Facebook Live Adopt-a-thon. Members of this board made it possible for us to do what we've been able to do, and we are eternally grateful. Commissioners Jones and Tyson, we can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, there are no more names listed on the Petition of Citizens.
I believe we have a group of Craven, leadership Craven in the audience. Could you stand up? Oh, wow. Would one of you like to speak and tell us what leadership Craven does?
Sure, I can talk about it for a brief moment. So the 4 or 5 of us are here tonight to represent Leadership Craven. We've had the great good fortune over the last several weeks to get to know one another and to be introduced to much of the leadership of Craven County. We met with the New Bern Board of Aldermen. We've had an education day, and last week we had the law enforcement and judicial day. So over the course of this year, we'll do more of that. Our opening session, we met with the city manager as well as Mr. Veet, the county manager. So so far it's been a fantastic experience, I think, for all of us. So we appreciate you recognizing us today.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda, minutes of October 15th to 2018 regular session and October 22nd reconvened session. The board will also be requested to approve the minutes of October 15th and 22nd. Tax releases and refunds. The board will be requested to approve the tax releases and refunds contained in attachment 1D. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Liner?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Dacey?
Yes.
Chairman Martin?
Yes. Thank you. Department matters from our planning department, Don Lavelle and Chad. Don's gonna handle it?
We're going to help.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm Donnie. I'm with the Planning Department, and I'm going to be presenting for your approval tonight Pecan Grove Solar Energy Facility. I've got a few slides here that will give you some of the basic information about it. We have a few representatives from Green Go Energy. That is the company that is putting this forward, this application. They're right in this row here. So I can tell you a little bit about the facility. It was applied for on, it went before the planning board August the 23rd and got approval from our planning board. The property is owned by the Duncan Family Trust. It is located on in Township 8 on 17th South, and I'll have a map for you in just a second showing where it's located. It will have approximately 56,000 solar panels and will occupy 26.6 acres out of a property size of 40.81 acres. This facility will produce approximately 5 megawatts of electrical power, which will be sold to Duke Energy. The solar facility will require a bond, as in the ordinance, and that will be provided before a building permit is issued. The application for this solar energy facility has met or exceeds the standards of our ordinance. And to give you an idea of what that looked like, this was the application that they presented to us. So up here in the slideshow, we have the basic information there. We have a area map. The site is located approximately here, right at the boundary of the Craven-Jones line. It is that property. If you're going down 17 out of the county, on the right you'll see a small white building. On the left there's a farm. That farm is where the solar energy facility will go. As you can see here, this dark gray line or light gray line is the county boundary, so it is actually the last county.
Don, could you put arrow that way so people can see it more better?
Okay.
Everybody can that way.
Sorry, I didn't know if you guys could see it over here.
Don't worry about me there.
That line right there.
Okay, change it back.
No, you're fine. I know where it is.
That right there is the county line, so this is the very last parcel on this, inside our county. This next slide, the last slide I have for y'all, is the actual site plan of the solar energy facility. You should have that in your packet. There's a couple of things to highlight. If you see right over here, which that's the county boundary. If you'll notice, right when you go into Jones County, I believe on the adjacent property in Jones County, you'll see a solar farm right over there as well. The green represents the vegetative buffer. Let's see, we've got, it's much more difficult to read over here. The general layout of all the solar panels, you know, you see all the adjoining properties. We did mail out the notices as was required as the ordinance. We did not get any responses to those that we mailed out. They did notify all of the military installations. There was no issue with them. And if you have any particular questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
One question, what was the amount of the bond?
Okay. The amount of the bond, the estimate is for $78,045.80.
Okay, thank you. Do the commissioners have any other questions?
Donnie, what's the life expectancy of these panels? You have
I want to say, that would be much better answered by this gentleman here.
They're guaranteed for 25 years.
25 years? Okay. You see a growing amount of these in Craven County. It seems to be a trend in eastern North Carolina.
I know that this particular company, Green Go Energy, has several planned for our county. What was it, 3 or 4?
We have three, well, 4 within the county, 1 within the city of New Bern jurisdiction, so 4 total.
Mr. Chairman, there between where the solar farm will be and the McLaughlin property.
Yes,
What
sir.
kind of, they're gonna be, in our ordinance, I think we've got where you're gonna have,
A vegetative
explain
buffer.
what the vegetative, explain exactly what consists of that vegetative buffer.
That is going to be a row of, it's that image right there. It's a row of trees. I'd have to pull the individual ordinance to actually read it to you.
I believe the ordinance says it should be a 50-foot wide vegetative buffer, and we'll likely use some type of evergreen, one that doesn't grow too tall, obviously, because of the shading aspect, but we've got evergreen that'll blend in.
I know you said that you sent correspondences to those adjoining landowners.
Yes, sir.
And none of them responded back.
We had no response, yes, sir.
How long were they given to respond?
The ordinance says that they have 10 days prior to the planning board when we have to mail the notice. We mailed those notices, I want to say at day 11 or 12 days before the planning board. None responded before the planning board, if none have responded since.
Okay.
And that was back in August.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner?
is there ever any effort on the staff part to go knock on the doors of these people? I mean, it's my recollection that Dr. McLaurin, they travel a lot. I mean,
No, sir, that we were required to mail them, and we got them in the mail, put them in the mail, sent them to the mailing address that was on the tax records. We did not make any kind of effort to drive out and see if we could find anybody, no, sir.
If I may. So this particular facility was issued a CPCN. So that is a Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity, and that's issued by the North Carolina Utilities Commission. So the Utilities Commission actually would have notified all the adjacent neighbors before they'd issued the CPCN. So that probably would have been back in 2016, and they would have advertised that in the local paper for a few weeks.
and there's no record of anybody coming forward to say anything.
If I piggyback on that, do we have an idea of what tax value, I mean, you take McLaughlin, and as the Vice Chairman said, I mean, the McLaughlin family has lived in this county probably since late 1700s or early 1800s. I know them all, know the Duncan family. But property values, I mean, right there is one of the McLaughlin homes. I mean, what are we looking at as far as what this might do to tax values for their home? I mean, have we ever looked at implications of what it might do?
That's actually a very good question, and there's a gentleman right here that can help you with that.
Sure. Hi, my name's Rich Kirkland. I'm a certified general appraiser in North Carolina. I've been looking at the issue of property values. You're saying tax value, but I think you were asking about like property value there.
Property value is what I meant to say.
I've been looking at that issue for about 9 years. In that time, I've looked at 500 solar farms, literally. That time I've been quantifying uses around them and looking at sales of properties next to solar farms. I've tracked over 38 different sales of properties next to solar farms. Those I can then compare to other properties that are similar or nearly identical that are not next to solar farms. So you can test to see if that, it's called a matched pair analysis or a paired sales analysis. This is what the Appraisal Institute puts forward as the appropriate way to look to see if there's an impact. And I've consistently found no impact on property value for adjoining residential or agricultural uses. The impact study isn't part of the material that's in there, so you can see the data, you can see the numbers that go through there. I believe I've presented in there match pairs that are adjoined to about 10 or 11, it depends on that. I'm finding more all the time, so I'm not sure exactly which iteration that would be. But it has 10 or 11 different solar farms that shows about 20 different matched pairs across the state of North Carolina. Again, the one I cite all the time is a project in Goldsboro where there's actually a subdivision that was being developed, a solar farm got put in while the subdivision was being developed. So you have homes before the solar farm, you have homes after the solar farm. They actually started building bigger homes after the solar farm was developed. The price per square foot, again, we do look at the exact same size home, same style home, sold for the same price per square foot, whether it joined the solar farm or whether it was somewhere else in the neighborhood. The exact same floor plan sold for the same price. Developers sold out homes in the same time frame they were expecting to sell at that community and had no problems with that. And there's also been resale of properties. A homeowner bought from the builder and then later resold it a few years later and it sold for an appreciated value that was consistent with appreciation in that area. So, again, I can go into more detail and talk about other projects, but I've been looking at that and really all the different ways you would look at value. This is showing no impact on those adjoining property values. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, now if this solar farm ever go out of business, who would be responsible for restoring the land to its original use?
The bonds.
The bond, got enough bond to cover it?
Yeah. Any other questions?
I have one more just from Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. Is a solar farm a farm? I mean, is it held in like, it's not taxed like a land use for a farm?
The property would come out of use value, Don, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm under the assumption this property's in use value now, and then it would be taxed on the rate, but they also some special things about solar farms, so they receive some discount, but it's not a property use value like your traditional single farm.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I have one question. You say 25 years is the length of the solar farms. Once the solar farms are no longer solar farms, what have we done in the way of comparing what will happen to the soil?
Yes, sir. My name is Chris Sanford, and I live at 3118 Green Road in Spring Hope, North Carolina. And I'm a registered engineer. I'm a licensed electrical contractor. I have 3 solar farms on family-owned property. So I just want to give you a little bit of background of who I am. And so they have not been in there, but I do commission reports. And these things about $1 million a megawatt, so you're looking at about $5 million investment at the end of 25 years. That's the minimum. That's the guarantee. The life of this farm will be probably, according to the lease, maybe 30, 35, 40, whatever Gringo has worked out with the property owner. I'm not privy to that, but there would be, it's not going to be 25. That's just, they could repanel it at 25 years and go another 25 years. I mean, it could easily go like that. So, but there's nothing in these panels, there's nothing in the structures that leaches into the ground. And I'm often asked, well, you've got lead. Well, we do have lead in the panels for the solder to make the connections. But if this field, if they've ever had a dove hunt out there and they shot one shotgun shell at a dove hunt, there'd be more lead in one shotgun shell than would be in a whole string. And that's unsequestered. And most people take more than one shot. When I've been on my dog runs, there's a lot of times you shoot more than one guy. And so just put in perspective, these are sealed units, and they're used galvanized steel piles that they put in the ground. And so they're not concrete, they just press them in the ground based on the soil resistance so that you hold the panels down. You're not trying to hold the panels up, they're not that heavy. What you're trying to hold them down so when the wind hits them, they don't fly away. So that's the whole purpose of that pile. And it's a galvanized steel, the same type of steel that would be used going up and down the road right here on guardrails, the same kind of steel that's used all the signage that the highway department uses. So the conduit is in the ground, and the conductor would be the same thing that would be in this building. At the end of 25, 40, 50, whatever that year, you just grab the end of it and pull out the ground. They're not installing concrete. There will be some small concrete pads around 10 foot by 10 foot, and this one will probably have 3 that will set the equipment out. And so at the end of that period of time, if you want to restore it back, then you'd have to take those concrete panels off. But any type of retention ponds, any type of and this is land is fairly flat, but there is a little creek on. But any type of grading they would do would be to enhance the permeability, to enhance the sedimentation and erosion plan, which they will have to get one approved by the state to put it in. So at the end of 25, 50 years, you pull this stuff out. The decommissioning plans I've done before, it costs about $1 million to put a megawatt in. The salvage value at the end of 25 years is about $100,000. So I know there's a bond in there, but everyone I've ever done in the past, the cost of removing the salvage value material is worth more than the cost of removing it. So really all you have to do is go back and line the soil. If you want to do it, you put,
Well, my concern would be that in most cases this is farmland. And if it ever had to be farmed again, where people wanted to farm it, would they be able to farm it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The only thing, if you have some gravel in there for your roads, you may want to remove that gravel rather than just you may have to take that, and there's a cost there, and I normally put that in. But in a decommission report, but that's the only thing that would be left. You take the concrete plan, you take everything up. The land is basically the same as it was before, except for the fact that it has not been cultivated. And so we have acid rain. I know we've done a lot to keep coal plants down but the rain that comes down still has a slight pH, acid pH to it. And so if you go 25 years and you don't do anything to that soil, but if you were farming it every year, then you would be adding lime to it along and along. But they will not use any pesticides. There won't be any type of insecticides and poisons on a soil form that you might be using if you're doing row crop. So actually, at the end of that period of time, there's actually less damage to the water supply and less damage to the land because it doesn't have any residual chemical, any of the toxic chemicals in it would be there if it was farmed. And I do row crop farming too, so I know we do use, chemicals to,
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, are there any other questions?
The only thing I would like to state, Mr. Chairman, I definitely will vote for it. But I think something we need to look at going forward, to revisit this ordinance. It's good that there is no objection, but then when nobody responds, it does leave a little bit of a question in your mind. And for homeowners to be that close to it, I appreciate what you said and the information you provided. But I think it might be worthwhile if this Board of Commissioners took into consideration of having added to our ordinance that Planning Department would go out and visit some of these homeowners to let them know. So I'd ask for that to be considered for the future.
I would agree with
Mr. Chairman, likewise, I'm mindful of that family that came before us as we were developing this ordinance and had a concern. Here they went ahead and they built their lifetime dream home, never with the expectation that one of these things would pop up across the street. And I just, obviously, you've got to make decisions based upon the law and public policy, but it's unfortunate when those situations happen, and we could just do a little bit more about reaching out.
Mr. County Manager, could we,
Got it. I'll talk with Don.
we have a motion, a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Don.
Next is the mitigation.
Yes, we're here tonight to consider the funding that has been received by the county for the FY16 flood mitigation program, and this is funding from the federal flood insurance program that is designated for repetitive loss properties. These are properties where the value that FEMA is going to invest in them is going to be almost an immediate payback for them because of the previous claims that they are having to pay out over and over and over again. This was a program that was established back probably about 8 or 10 years ago, and it's one that we've actually, in the county, we've done probably close to 130 or a few more than that homes that we've actually elevated. So that's 130 homes that either had minimal damage this time or did not have any damage at all to them. What we're looking at here is a bid. We rebid 4 of these structures. The last time we bid them, they came in over the estimated amounts and the amount of funding available to undertake those elevations. This time when we bid them, they came back in relatively close to what some of the estimates that we had through our consultants written up. There is actually 4 structures that we bid. Out of that, there was 2 contractors that actually put proposals in, Paul Woolard Construction and another company from New Bern called IMEC Group LLC. What we are here tonight to recommend is the awarding of these contracts to the lowest responsible bidder for 3 of the units. The 4th unit, at this particular time, the owner of that property is deceased, and we are trying to work with the heirs of that property to see what we can do for that particular structure. And the other item is that it came in relatively high as well, so that may also be a candidate that we end up rebidding. As you can see here, there's actually 3 locations that you received information on. The first is Felucia Court in Fairfield Harbor. The low bid on that was $182,210. The second one is 103 Bayside Drive. That's in the ETJ of the city of New Bern. Paul Woolard Construction was the low bidder in the amount of $158,725. And the last one that we're looking to make an award on tonight is 106 Pilot Place, which is located in River Bend, and Paul Woolard Construction with the low bid of $118,495. In order to move forward with these contract awards, we would need to have the board consider approving these proposals. And as I mentioned, the remaining one over in Fairfield will continue to consider the possibility of doing that, but we are trying now very desperately to have some conversation with the current heirs of the property. And if you can give us approval, then we can move forward with these projects.
Pretty much what has happened here is that the flood insurance program has deemed that because of paying out to these people for flooding over a number of times, that it would be less money for them to raise the homes And the people would continue to pay for the insurance after the homes are raised.
Right,
Is that
and,
correct?
and the funding for this is actually coming from the insurance program. Comes to the state of North Carolina, property owners in the communities try to apply for those funds. They're rated, and then the state makes us aware of which homes fall in the category of, that are repetitively lost for assistance.
And some of this takes years. I noticed the one at Felucia, that goes back to Irene.
It does. Sometimes we have to, you know, if it doesn't make it the first time it's submitted, but it's close, we resubmit it again.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I've got some questions and some comments. Don, where are these companies from? Where's Paul Woolard Construction from?
He's from over around Bath.
Okay. How about IMEC?
He's from right here in New Bern area. His company is actually headquartered here. He lives over in Trenton, but he actually does, you know, a lot of work in the New Bern area.
Seems like these, the cost seems to be going up just astronomically. Is that due to a lack of competition in the area?
Well, I think it's,
And let me
yeah.
just follow up a little bit with that, because I've been hearing of quotes to elevate a house of anywhere from 20 to 30,000 out in River Bend, and that doesn't include,
right.
you know, some of the other things that come along with raising the house, and these are companies from outside of this area.
Right.
And maybe outside of the state, but.
And we've actually had in some of the meetings, the companies from outside of the area. You know, one company was from Pennsylvania, another one was from Louisiana. They worked in Louisiana and Florida, and they came in and they said they just couldn't, they couldn't compete with the local guys. Now, as far as the cost of elevation, they may very well be able to compete with that, but the real cost, the largest percentage of cost is trying to get these homes put back together to meet all the codes. So when you pick them up, I mean, you're practically redoing everything that you have to disturb, and that gets expensive, from heating and air to electrical, you know, new panels on the side, possibly new wiring underneath. Finishing all the foundation. Sometimes, you know, we actually have to have an engineer involved to look to determine that the soils are going to be suitable to support the load that is the type of foundation that's being put up there, whether it's on pilings or, you know, some type of block foundation with the proper venting no more than a foot above grade. So, you know, when you have a tendency to get the engineers involved sometimes, and we have no choice but to do that, because as far as FEMA is concerned, they don't want any callbacks on this, and we don't want to be in the business of holding responsibility for not having the structures to withstand whatever loads are placed on them, especially when you have, you know, water that goes in and out. This was a slow storm, but if you have a quick moving storm, and the water rushes in under a house, it's got to be able to go out just as fast, and the walls have to withstand that. So that's all engineered by, we actually have to go through the process of securing an engineer to do all the drawings for the foundations.
Is that outside of the bid that you're getting?
That is all contained within this bid arrangement. The bid arrangement, the contractor has to follow those, and we actually have a separate line item that we pay for that engineering. But the problem is, the engineering is cheap. The real cost is what the engineer requires. So, you know, I'm sure there are contractors that will do things, you know, maybe a little cheaper, and if they can stay within the codes of North Carolina. But, you know, we've actually had houses before that we had to drive helical cores down almost 30 feet into the ground, and then pour a larger foundation and tie it all together with steel. And that was a very expensive venture. It was over here in the Sandy Point area. So the thing that they look at on these homes is not to exceed $150,000 over the, you know, if you're doing 4 homes and you can't exceed $150,000 as an average for all 4 of those. So they realize that the cost is going up. And I think the other thing is that you know, there is a shortage of contractors and materials are moving up. I mean, there's no question about that.
Are you bringing them up to 10 foot? Is that what?
What we actually do, every part of the county has an elevation that could be a little different, you know, and we didn't create the maps, but in most instances, in the past, you know, if the base flood elevation was 8 feet, then we would actually bring them up to 10 feet, which included the 2-foot freeboard. What we have done recently, since these preliminary maps were released to the county, they have not been adopted as of yet because the state has not given us the green light to adopt them. But in those instances where we have new information available to us, according to FEMA, we can use the best available data. So when these homes are being considered and put out to bid, we're using that best available data. And in some instances, it could be a foot or more in height that they're going to have to go up. We also are seeing something different in what we call velocity zones, which mean that the foundation's got to be able to withstand the flow of water that comes by with more than just going up and going down. It's a flow of water. So in those instances, that requires additional engineering, and sometimes it limits us only to piling foundations and not any type of block foundation to hold it up or block piers. So it's, you know, we're kind of happy that we got these bids, and they're in a reasonable range that we could make these awards, because it is a very tight labor market out there today for contractors.
If you're in the city of New Bern or the city of Trent Woods, do you have to go by their floodplain jurisdiction? Like the city of New Bern's 11, the city of Trent Woods is 8. So
Right.
I mean, surely you'd raise it up higher than 8 though if it was in. And we did one in Trent Woods. It hadn't been but a couple of years ago.
Yeah. All we can do is go to whatever the community has adopted as their mandatory flood elevation. If they choose not to have a freeboard, then we cannot mandate a freeboard. We do try to make the homeowners aware of it. We also try to go through the process of if they're not opposed to it and we have the money available and that's what we're going to bid out, we think we can get it into the project, then we'll put it in and try to get her up.
Option of going up higher than the homeowner if they want to pay any difference? I think they do.
Normally, these programs in the past, we've had 2 different types of programs. All the programs up until the FY15 project were 100% grant. FY15 was different. This particular project is again 100% grant. So it becomes very difficult when you have to, any change orders, you have to get additional money from the property owners to put into this. In most instances, they are willing to participate in that, but it requires a lot of additional paperwork to do it, to be honest with you. We have more line items that we have to set up, we have to track it, and then we've got to, you know, go after the money and be sure we get it, so it's just another process.
Community development block grant monies for flood-related things or elevation of house or anything like that?
We can. The state is offering those types of programs with their CDBG funds. They've not made any decision yet. They keep telling us they're going to have some workshops very soon with dealing with the community development block grant funds and what they can be used for and how they're going to, what type of programs are making available for Hurricane Florence. But we don't have a date on that yet. We didn't get any information on Friday when I was gone. Nope. But they are considering that. That is one of the things that has been mentioned as a possibility, that they were going to do that. But we continue to monitor very closely. In fact, they've actually asked us to host a meeting down here for them for several counties, and so we've agreed to do that, but we don't have a date as of yet.
Or a facility.
Facility,
Well, I'm sure we can find one somewhere. We've got one in mind, but, you know, we may, depending on how many people are coming, we may have to seek another facility that we could
Thank you,
use.
Mr. Chairman. That's all my question.
Commissioner Liner?
You brought up something, you said 150,000. What are you talking about there, 150,000?
The maximum, as far as the FEMA regulations are concerned, the maximum amount that you can spend on a structure is 150,000. When you have a grant, they've not done anything to raise that since they originally set forth the statutory requirements. But when you have a grant, the state has allowed communities to exceed 150,000 as long as they, one, have enough money to do that, and two, as long as you do not, if you have 4 structures, the average of those 4 cannot exceed $150,000. So they don't want to come up with more money to give you. This is all you're going to have, and pretty much how it
What I'm
works.
getting at, you brought up a good point, because these 3 is 153-1.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you're gonna take away from the 4th one that's deferred, then, right?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, something new I've heard since this storm's come up, on people that's either having to raise or have raised homes, and they're talking about flood baffles. I mean, it's not the vent, supposedly there's a baffle where the flood waters can come through and then go out instead of getting underneath the house and causing pressure to raise the floors.
I think it's pretty much the same thing as a flood vent that allows the water to come in and out. There's different terminologies for different types of vents.
Are we requiring those when we're raising?
Yes, we are actually putting those in place. We have to meet all the building code requirements, which say that not only does the county have to ensure that we have people that are following the rules and regulations when they come to us and ask for a permit, and we do the review, but the building inspectors, when they sign off on the structures, have to ensure that all the items to meet those codes, every flood insurance requirement in our ordinance is signed off by the building inspector. So we have a check and balance system that prevents us from allowing structures to be built in non-compliance. And this has been in more recent years, they have required more stringent requirements as a result of finding, in a lot of instances, sometimes communities weren't doing those things, so they added it to the building code. They put it in 2 places now, the community and the building inspector. So there's 2 people physically responsible to ensure that happens.
Okay. There are no other questions? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. Thank you.
Already?
Department Matters, Animal Services Update, Scott Harrelson and Elmer Green.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Yes, I wanted to do an introduction for our new Animal Control Director and also a little background on what we've been dealing with and where we're at right now. And I think Commissioner Tyson had a very appropriate description of catastrophe. During the storm, we had animal-friendly shelter at Ben Quinn, and we also had quite a few animals right before the storm at our main shelter. So we only had 5 staff members. So we had 2 back at the main shelter to care for those animals during the storm, and we had 3 staff members at the Ben Quinn storm shelter during the storm. So when the Humane Society and the volunteers took on the role of doing all of those animal rescues during the storm, very helpful for them to step up and to have done that. We actually, through the storm, had 3 veterinarians from the Raleigh area come down and help staff the animal-friendly storm shelter. And we also had 2 gentlemen from Surrey County, animal control officers, directly after the storm that came and handled the 911 calls for us as well. So very thankful for that help being sent down for animal control. And prior to the storm, Miss Elma had accepted the job, and her first day was starting on a Tuesday, and the county was not open yet. It was right after the storm. But I said, "Oh, you're essential staff. You come on." And she started. So you can imagine just how glad I was to see her. And when we went through the interviews, we actually have used this book for a number of years. I was everywhere I went with animal control. It's the North Carolina laws of animal control, animal protection, and public health. And the author is Elma Green, the lady here that we were fortunate enough to have hired. And Ms. Green was just what we were looking for because she has so much knowledge. She has a lot of experience in different parts of the state. And just to be able to have somebody to come in and plug and play and actually not only maintain but elevate the program, I think is going to be a great thing for this county. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Green and introduce you as well.
Oh, thank you, Scott. Thank you. Hi. Good evening. I'm pleased to meet everybody here tonight. Thank you. He's introduced me, so I don't need to introduce myself. But in the short time that I've been here, I see that Craven County has a wealth of opportunities to reduce the amount of animal issues that we're experiencing and also to improve our program. We're using a lot of financial, human resource, and moral resources now that I think that we can do better, and hopefully, that's going to happen. I'm sure it will happen. One of my goals here is to identify and investigate those opportunities and explore some alternatives and improvements for our animal services program. Currently, as Scott just mentioned to you, we have experienced a high staff turnover. This coupled with the additional building that we have and the additional capacity for animals and helping Pamlico County, et cetera. We're recruiting now for professionals to come and work with us in Craven County to improve our program. We are now actively recruiting for our vacant positions and exploring our human resources for the future. And haven't been here very long, and when I started, of course, it was just animals everywhere and very few people, very chaotic, but I think we're back on semi-solid ground, and I look forward to going forward and look forward to working with you, the health director, and our partners in animal welfare. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming to our community.
Yes,
And,
lovely.
We need some leadership in this area, and so we're very thankful. As you are likely aware, this board, within recent months, did adopt a new ordinance.
Yes, familiar.
And I guess, are there any things that you've identified in that ordinance that maybe this board should be looking to help enhance or improve it?
Yes, sir. There's several areas in the ordinance. I haven't spent a lot of time with it. Of what I have looked at right now, it's just keeping things going. And but yes, sir, you will be seeing some of that in the future, definitely.
Anything that's stopping you from being able to carry out your mission at this point?
There's a couple of large areas, penalties, the punitive side of it, we don't have, we need to just organize it a little better for the penalties. Of course, I'm sure, and it's always a very controversial issue, is our leash laws, looking at controlling some of these animals out in the community. And there's some operational issues in the language of the ordinance. But off the top, that's what I can tell you now.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for such a warm welcome.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
If
sir.
I may ask you 2 or 3 questions.
Sure.
Our staff numbers, how many vacancies do we have at the present time? We got 4. Are we making any inroads to try to get those filled, or?
We are recruiting, we are receiving applications, and I've been involved in interviewing.
Do we think that we will have those completed by the end of the year?
I can hope, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would hope so by then, yeah.
How about, this, prior to you coming, this Board of Commissioners, I had a lot of discussions, spent a lot of time, have invested taxpayers' dollars to try to do a better job at cruelty investigation in this county.
Yes, sir.
It is a top priority of this Board of Commissioners, and that we pursue and make sure those that are
Glad to hear it.
are not handling animals in a proper way, that they be held accountable for. In saying that, I know you can't get into individual cases, but are we making some, you know?
Some progress there,
Yes, in
and I'm
that
happy
area.
to hear that. There have been some cases that have been left, and we're following up on that now. Right now, I have one animal control officer that's working night and day. She has followed up on several of them. I've gone out on a few of the larger cases, but we've only had a short time together, but we are following up on those as we see them, absolutely. We've seized several dogs. Not so many cats, but the dogs, and I'm working with a horse owner now. When seizing the animals, of course, then you're putting them in your shelter and holding them for a period of time, but we are following up with them, and I'm glad to hear it's a top priority.
If I may, just one more thing, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman. What are our numbers presently at the shelter?
Right now, we're holding about 153 animals. We've taken in about 2,000 thus far this calendar year. I'm estimating we'll probably be taking around 2,200 animals. That's a general estimate. They're moving, they're coming in as fast as they're going. We hope they go out faster than they come in, but it's about 150 around there.
The last thing I say, this Board of Commissioners allowed Commissioner Tyson and myself to co-chair a task force to steering committee rather, to go and to look at some improvements that we can make to our animal services. We've because of the hurricane, we had to we haven't been able to concentrate that on so much, but it is our intention this month to bring that committee back together, Mr. Chairman, and look forward to your involvement in discussions and some things. We'd love to hear your ideas and also continue to hear the ideas of our citizens of this county that we may incorporate them all together. So, all right,
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is appointments. We have some pending appointments. Adult Care Home Advisory Committee, that has gone up again. We have 6 vacancies now. And we wrote a letter on that, did we not, County?
Yes, sir, we did.
This is a situation that is out of our control now, as it was taken away from the commissioners and is handled by the state. And since that time, we've gone from having no vacancies to 6 vacancies. So I think somebody made a mistake there. Emergency medical services.
Mr. Chair, may I just,
Yeah.
and I know we've been over this time and again, but I wanted just to point out to the board, what was traditionally a 1-step process, so, well, 2-step, they applied and you approved, is now an 8-step process. So I doubt I shouldn't speak for the volunteers in this community who do great things for this board and our citizens, but it's hard for me to believe a volunteer is going to go through 8 different steps and 2 vetting processes to be appointed to a volunteer committee.
I would agree with you.
Seems to me, you know, I don't know where to go from
Do
here.
you
I
think a
you're gonna have
letter
long
to
term.
the state legislature would help?
I think it's something, I mean, obviously our local aging, ombudsman.
Right,
Um, she's, you know, doing the best she can. We're doing obviously the best we can. It's
We
the
don't have
will-
any applicants.
No one's willing to step forward and go through this
The
process.
difference is before, the commissioners used to get the applicants.
We still do.
You still do, but they just got to go through 7 additional steps when they leave you.
No, he means that we would go find the
We would go find, that's exactly
Well,
right.
you
We
can
would
still
go-
find them. They just have 7 steps to go through once you find them.
Yeah. That's one of the problems.
So I think, to your point, the legislature obviously could take this issue up, but probably not for some time.
And we have the same thing with the Nursing Home Advisory Board now, too.
Right.
All right. Emergency Service Advisory Council, we have 1 vacancy. And I see we have an appointment there? No. Okay. Does anybody have anyone to recommend? No?
Sir, I think that's by position. Let me talk with Mr. Kite tomorrow and make
Okay.
sure he's getting a name for you.
Next is the Craven Aging Planning Board, and I see Ernest Richardson has his term expired.
I'd like to appoint Carolyn Squires.
Carolyn Squires, okay. And I guess that's it for appointments. County Attorney's Report.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to act on that nomination? Mr. Squires?
That'd be a good idea.
I thought so.
Let's appoint him by acclamation, okay? County Attorney's Report?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. I have for your consideration multiple offers for county-owned real estate. There are 4 separate parcels, 3 of which the county acquired through the tax foreclosure process. I realize the agenda packet has full information, so I will briefly summarize each parcel. The first parcel does not have an assigned street address, but has parcel ID number 1-044295. The offer amount is $1,500. The taxes and cost foreclosed upon were $2848.47, and the current tax value is $6,080. If the board wishes to tentatively accept this offer, we will advertise for upset bids and then have the matter back before the board for final approval.
What's the board's desire? Well, I'm looking at this and I think that 1,500 and the value is 6,000. I would recommend we go out for bid on this again.
Well, it does go back out, right? It will go out for
Yes, sir.
upset bid.
Yes, sir. This is the initial bid. That's correct.
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Yes, second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it.
The second parcel is 415 Scott Street here in New Bern, parcel ID number 7005053. We have an initial bid of $1,500. The total value of the taxes and the cost of the tax foreclosure was $4,627.04. The current tax value is $16,000. In your agenda packet, you have copies of the GIS information, proposed resolutions, and the foreclosure deed.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we reject the bid.
We have a motion to reject. We have a second.
I'll second.
John second already.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it.
The third parcel, 5400 County Line Road, New Bern, parcel ID number 7053005A. It's a bid of $2,000. Taxes plus foreclosure cost were $7842.05, and the current tax value is $46,560.
Mr. Chairman, I make the same motion that we reject this bid.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it.
And the final parcel is 133 West Pleasant Hill Drive, New Bern, parcel ID number 8222062. We've got an initial offer amount of $1,800. The tax value is $6750. Unlike the other 3 parcels, it's a little unclear how the county acquired this parcel. Historically, it was not from a tax foreclosure in recent memory. But again, the board can either accept the offer and move forward with the upset bid process or reject the offer.
Make a motion, we move forward.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it.
Mr. Chair, on that property, I know you've already approved, just, it was back in the early 80s when that property came. I had Gene go take a look at it. I mean, there's nothing out of the ordinary to us. It's not the piece that holds the county together that we can determine, so how we got it, I don't know.
I don't know.
All right.
I took that from Gene, I'm sorry, I can't take.
Maybe we can find a piece that does hold it together.
We'll let you know when we get there, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. County managers report.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity tonight. I guess I'll be able to take a little extra time since you took your comments away here, so, joking, by the way. Joking. Hurricane Florence recovery update, wanted to provide you our continuing efforts with that. As of tonight, I just checked, we still have 30 people remaining in our shelter at West New Bern Rec Center. They have had a couple specialized teams in that are housing specialists providing these people assistance. We're down to, basically, these folks were long-term struggling for housing before the storm. So these are not easy ones to deal with, but there are some plans in place. There is a tentative, so you're aware, notion to try to close the shelter on Friday. So they're working very hard to try to place these folks in some type of housing before then. I'll keep you updated as that goes on. Obviously, the resources it takes to run a shelter like that now going on the 7th week is great from the Red Cross. And they have a real need to try to find a permanent solution for these folks. So we'll keep you updated as that goes. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Additional good news, FEMA has extended the filing period for assistance until December the 13th. They added about a month on to that. It's been posted on our Facebook page and all around any place we can put. They did listen to you, sir. That was good. And this will give folks additional time to make those initial assessments if there's some reason they haven't so far. I would always encourage people to do that as soon as possible because it gets you moving in the process, which takes some time, as we're all aware. Later next week, we will have Golden Leaf coming in to do a presentation just for Craven County. They've been given funds from the legislature to disperse for Hurricane Florence relief. They have a variety of tools that they can use. If you're most familiar with our stream debris program from Hurricane Matthew, we were able to do accelerated work there. This is going to be a larger version of that along with other things, even down, from what I understand, to personal assistance for individuals in our county for help getting back in their homes. So that's a new and unique feature to that. I'd invite you to attend that meeting. It'll be out at Craven Community College. I'll have Nan send you the invitation that we received today to make sure you're there. There's 2 counties that are coming to individually. That's Pender and Craven. The rest of the counties will have a conference call. So we do feel like they're going to focus the need here, which I think we all believe is needed. So I want to make sure you're aware of that. Would like to start talking with you. I know we've spent a lot of time in these meetings and our work sessions talking about things that went right and things that went wrong and things we can improve on and things we should have known and didn't know and all those great things about Hurricane Florence. I would like for you to think, before this board adjourns for the final time, an opportunity just to talk about those things. I would value your opinion along with staff, and I think it'd be good for you to hear our opinions of some things that we think went good and bad. I know we got a limited window of time before December the 3rd. I'm just offering that opportunity if you'd like.
Would you suggest a work session?
I mean, if you're willing to stay after our next meeting.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
I'm not gonna, this is nothing fancy, no facilitator, just talk, have the whiteboard in here, let's put up things that we know we want to chase a little further.
All right, let's.
Yeah. And Mr. Chairman, would it be possible perhaps to ask our legislators to give I'd like to bend their ear a little bit on some, see if there's any state pools of money, housing finance and agency money, tax credit money. I know we've probably tapped that out. Is Don still here?
Yes.
To talk about some creative ways, maybe to incentivize investors to build some low-income tax credit type housing. We've kind of gotten our fair share, or maybe more, if you looked at the way it's supposed to be dealt out. But maybe we need more than our fair share. And who would be the person to talk to about that? Would it be our legislators, or?
Well, that would be one source, but probably more importantly, the North Carolina Housing Finance Group. They kind of specialize in doing those types of projects. And there may be some other when they
Well,
have
who can
meetings.
touch them? Who
sorry.
touches them, our legislatures, or is it your, the planning department, or
No,
who would be an advocate to try to plead for additional funds for that? Because there are investors that would probably, I dare say, be willing to come in if those tax credit type financing is available.
I'd say, work with the Department of Commerce as well as contact your legislators to see where they might be able to have some vehicles available to help local communities that have a housing issue.
We probably need to partner with the city with that, Don, is, they have, I don't know how many units over Trent Court that were damaged, and I don't even know I haven't even heard if they're gonna be rebuilding those or where they are in that process. But this is kind of an emergency situation that, if we need somebody advocating on our behalf. And whether it's our state senator or if it's
I think that would be a
someone
good
else.
place to start. I know that New Bern was building some right there at the end of, First Avenue as you're coming in, connecting up there with Broad Street. As you're going out of town, they were building some over there in behind the,
Yeah.
crossing the fire station back there.
They are building some, and that's what I'm saying. I think we've I was told that we'd kind of tapped out or I pull the money for any type of special incentivized methods for investors to come in and build right now. And if there was some more money that we could pool from somewhere, because there's a critical housing shortage here and in probably other counties too, but we are county commissioners, and so.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
I am aware that while Congress, when they passed the FAA reauthorization bill, they included $1.7 billion in assistance for Hurricane Florence. Of that, approximately $1.1 billion is supposed to be coming to North Carolina. The Speaker, Speaker Ryan, was recently in North Carolina and had the opportunity to visit with him along with other people that were impacted by the storm, and he expressed that at some point in time between now and when Congress leaves in December, they will be taking up another funding vehicle, and they anticipate putting a lot of money into North Carolina. I would recommend that if we can, Steve, if Commissioner Tyson, if you believe that housing is something that they need to be directing resources into, we need to let our congressional delegation know that so that they can then start to try to work to get some earmarked funds in for those specific types of programs into this package. And then, of course, let that then come down to the state, and then the state would make it available to us.
You want to talk about it?
Go ahead.
Okay, Friday, Justin Leonard gave me a call.
Kevin.
He's had meetings with Burge and Tillis's offices. They've held meetings and conferences, and they're trying to pull together a group of counties that they've made that initiative known exactly what you're saying on more money and a dire need that we're in here.
Yeah.
So they are being worked.
Who did you say, George?
Kevin Leonard, the director of the Association, County Commissioners Association.
Okay.
That group is working on it as
And
well.
I'm talking with Kevin tomorrow morning at 9. He's going to give me a call to kind of start that process.
So maybe we can work that all
Yeah,
in
I think so.
with that.
I mean,
Okay.
I don't know if it's,
I think we got a consensus that all the commissioners want to do it, so.
I think it'd be good.
Okay.
Invite our legislative delegation?
Well, I think you could.
Short update, or would, if you'd rather us do it on the.
I think we should spend some time talking and then maybe have them come at the end if you'd feel comfortable. You can have a lunch with them if you want to do that.
That's a good idea. Lunch. That'll get them.
You just,
Commissioner Tyson, my concern is that they're not going to have a lot of wherewithal unless it comes down from the feds. And now granted, there's a rainy day fund, and the state does have some money, but I don't suspect that they're going to get to that right away. My suspicion is that they're going to wait to see what the feds put together in their package, have that come down, and then augment it if it needs to be augmented, but it will be the state programs that then are the recipients of the money, and then that would then be farmed out. We're going to have to just shove and say, we need some 9% deals, we need some 6.5% deals, to come in here for those housing subsidies and those tax subsidies and to just make it work. But, so I think at this point, our time is best used identifying what it is that we need and then conveying that message to it sounds like Kevin, and having Kevin help move that message to the feds and then let it get done.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, piggyback on Commissioner Dacey's same perspective. I think we need to move more with the feds than the state. We need to make the feds, what scares me is the wording that's coming down from the state of them wanting to be more involved and take over some of these projects. I think we need to get our Fed partners in green there where we, as Craven County, gets assigned money and not the state.
That's the way it used to be.
We need to look at that. I full-heartedly agree with Commissioner Dacey. The state right now is waiting on the feds to tell them how much they're going to get, and they're still in an uproar how they're even going to split it out, or if they're even going to split it out and take it and do it themselves. And if they do it themselves, we all know we've lost because it's gonna take them a third of the money to stand up another department to run it.
Well, we learned that from Matthew.
Right, so, I mean, I gotta go along with Commissioner Dacey. I think our legislators, we need to get together with what we want and push it back to our association. And if not, I mean, we get with the board here and go visit with our needs and our requirements. I think we need to be the squeaky wheel.
Yeah.
I agree, Commissioner Weiner, and I agree with the bringing into, I think we've got to craft a letter explaining exactly what we do need here. And I think we probably need to work in conjunction with the planning department and also the city of New Bern, and the city of Havelock if the need is down there as well.
That would be very powerful.
Yeah, it would.
Let's plan on that.
Okay, all right. Debris pickup, I know you guys are probably getting calls often about that. I want to update you, we are having two separate projects right now working. One is the private roads in the county. Checked with Gene today, we're 80% complete. When I say that, that's 80% of the roads have either been checked off as no debris or picked up by our contractor, okay? I can't tell you where they stopped on that 80%. They were working east to west in a grid pattern through those areas. Private roads don't line up very nicely like state roads do. I do not have a report for DOT. I have seen their trucks out working. Certainly they have dealing with a lot more vast road system than we are there. Our second project's Fairfield Harbor. We did get an update on that today. We had picked up, I believe it was 24,000 cubic yards of vegetative debris and right at 1,300 tons of C&D, which is a tremendous amount. And that C&D number's just scratching the surface, so what we'll end up picking up totally there. They are making an effort to try to get the vegetative up first, and then backfill with the C&D. Obviously, it weighs more, and it's a long run to the landfill from there. So that's that. Let me see here. Convention Center, last week we were able to get in with our contractor and do the scan of the settlement. Those results came in late last week. Gene's working now with the engineer for the floor system to determine what the settlement issues are and what the fixes would be for that. So hopefully we'll have an answer for you pretty soon moving forward on that. Okay, three final things here. Wanted to make you aware on Wednesday, November 7th at 3:30, we're going to have an open house for our new Smile Mobile, which is the mobile dental unit. I believe that's at Oaks Road Elementary.
Yes, it is.
And we'd enjoy you coming by, taking a look at it. It did, of course, also come during the storm, so it kind of missed the pageantry of having a new dental trailer out. But there, if you remember, they added a third chair in this one, so we're able to see more children that need our dental services there, and it also increases our revenue to make that program balance. So that's a good news. So if you have time, please come out for that. Monday, November 12th, the county will be closed for Veterans Day. We will pick back up on Tuesday the 13th. And lastly, there's something going on tomorrow called Election Day.
I'm sure you're all aware of that. I'd just like to remind the board, this is one of the busiest times of year for our county election staff. They have a very small staff of 4 people. They bring in probably over 100 tomorrow to assist in election day. It is a monumental effort that crosses several different department lines. Mr. Holton in our IT department, our maintenance staff, and folks who work really hard. That is going to be a long day for them tomorrow. So think about them, and we hope everyone gets out, if they haven't already voted, and votes tomorrow. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Before I call for adjournment, I just want to thank everybody here in the audience for being here tonight and participating in local government. I would powerfully enhance you to ask others to come so that they know what local government is all about. Thank you very much.
Get out and vote if you haven't.
Yeah.
Move to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.